let's pull up this clip from David Sanders Jr. And I love this, but we'll talk about it. Is he too cocky or is he just confident enough? So can we go ahead and play that clip?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. The ad is playing for the clip, but it'll be ready in just 1 second. But while setting it up, just letting everybody know, David Sanders has been, just to give you a quick rundown, David Sanders has pretty much been plugged in to work in at right tackle. That's what they've been doing now. And he was kind of asked yesterday just about his transition to the college game. And this is what he said. I'm going to show you a quick moment. He talks about bowl practice. So here we go. This is David Sanders yesterday.
In college, you hear like the SEC, like that's a big time jump from high school to come to the SEC. So I feel like coming in during bowl practice, just being able to see that you're not far off from the top guys that they already have. I went against like James Pierce the whole bowl practice. We were getting ready for that. So just seeing that, I do have things to work on, but if I continue to work, I'm not far off from a guy that's about to be a top 20 draft pick, and in a couple weeks. So that was an eye-opening experience for me. And now being in spring ball, just getting to learn the plays and feeling more comfortable.
Bank on it. That's too cocky or just confident enough?
I think it's just confident enough for a guy that is basically the face of this past recruiting class, more than even George McIntyre.
More than George McIntyre. By the way, I hear great things about him too, to throw that in there. He's going to need to be very, very confident. We all saw what Lance Hurd went through last year, right? I think he got down a little bit. I don't think it was just an injury. You need to be confident to play offensive tackle in the SEC. Now, right now, he's working his way up the depth chart. But you know what I love about him is he came in at 270, worked against James Pierce, and he's put on 20 pounds since he's been there. I can't tell you the number of players that I've covered that never got the weight on, and it inhibited their play, especially in year number one. The fact that he's put on 20 pounds, to me, speaks volumes. Now, right now, he's running a lot with the backups. I'll go ahead and tell you that from information we get from practice, but I think the plan is obviously to have him ready to go at right tackle, which happens to be Tennessee's featured position. It's unusual. Usually it's left tackle, but at right tackle, I think he'll be there. So bank on it. We do not think that David Sanders Jr. is too cocky.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions.
So, tell me, what do you expect out of David Sanders Jr.? Anything short of starting day one? And I talked to Philip Fulmer about this, and I just asked him, I asked him, I said, how many players were ready to go from the get? And he basically said two. He said Michael Munoz and Bill Mayo were the two that were actually ready to go. And the fact that he is ready to go is exciting, but still, it's asking an awful lot to play offensive line in the SEC in your first year.
It is, but twofold. Actually, threefold. I'm pretty confident because very few people have the star ratings that David Sanders has when they arrive. Also, Dave, I think one of the reasons the switch to right tackle has worked so well for Tennessee in the past, I don't think in this offense it's as complicated to play tackle as it is guard or center. And I think you can pick things up a little more quickly. The other part of this is you brought up Lance Hurd. Let's remember this. One, Lance Hurd was dealing with the sprained ankle. The other point, though, and we got to be fair on this, Lance Hurd probably had his confidence shot a little bit transferring to Tennessee, right? Because remember, he transferred to Tennessee because he lost his starting job. He wasn't going to be the starting left tackle at LSU like he thought. And so he probably I mean, there was probably some doubt that crept in with Lance Hurd. As of right now, good or bad, David Sanders has no reason to feel any doubt. I mean, he's coming in and it's pretty much, when is he going to start at tackle? That's pretty much what everybody's asking. And now I'll ask you this. And I've heard of offensive linemen being captains and leaders, Cooper Mays. The confident to cocky like line. Have you ever heard of an offensive lineman having that and it working out? Aren't they supposed to be what is it, seen, not heard type of player?
Yeah, that's why this is so unusual, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. The greatest offensive linemen, they were great speakers, and I used to love interviewing offensive linemen because they were great quotes. But they usually didn't come out and say, "Hey, I went against James Pierce in bowl practice, and I feel pretty good about where I'm going." I mean, usually that's not the case. That's pretty strong verbiage.
Oh, that is. He's like, I was fine against, and he said a top 20 draft pick. At first, when I first saw the quote, I thought he was saying I'm a top 20 draft pick already, but I realized he was referring to James Pierce as a top 20 draft pick. But no, you're right. It's kind of, I haven't heard an offensive lineman do that. Now, look, what we just heard, David Sanders is right par for the course with most offensive linemen I've heard in terms of very well spoken, very smart. You know what I mean? He is on that level. But yeah, I haven't heard that type of confidence typically from an offensive lineman. They stay kind of quiet sometimes. The only one I kind of remember, I think Aaron Sears had a little bit of cockiness with him, didn't he? But Aaron Sears was so darn good in college that it didn't matter.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a cocky offensive lineman. David Sanders Jr. may be the first, and there's not a lot of firsts in my career. David says if Larry Johnson beats out David Sanders and keeps that job, that should be concerning. I'm going to disagree, David. I hear great stuff about Larry Johnson. If he were to hold on to that job for a year, and what year is he, by the way?
Larry Johnson, I think he's a redshirt sophomore, so a third year. I don't know how you do it. I look more at like what year, like number, than I do look at your like class, because that should tell how ready you should be for the program, right?
Yeah, I don't think it would be the end of the world if Larry Johnson, because I've heard great stuff about him. I don't think it would be the end of the world if he started, and then I'm just throwing a hypothetical out there, and then eventually Sanders took over that position and Johnson transferred. I don't think that would be the end of the world.
Do you not think that there's a chance they put Johnson in at guard? I mean, the dude is huge. So
he's long. I mean, he's a long player. He's not a stout player. So I know that they like him at tackle, but you have to shift people around. Sometimes, and Philip Fulmer used to say this all the time, you just got to get your best five out there. Maybe you're not a natural guard. Maybe you're not a natural tackle, but sometimes you've got to just put your five best out there. And Larry Johnson and the Hornets just saying, love them days of basketball.
do you know what I love about that? I love that in Space Jam, Larry Johnson was one of the talents they stole in the NBA. It was Muggsy Bogues, Larry Johnson, Sean Bradley, Charles Barkley, and Patrick Ewing. That starting five could never win. Okay, that doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. Go ahead and throw Blake Griffin in there if you want to. Adam says it's hard to stay grounded when you're financially set at 18 years old. That scares me a little bit. Does confidence go from confident to cocky at some point? That does concern me.
18 sitting on 1.8 mil. Sorry, there's a Drake line where he says
no idea what song that is.
There's a Drake line where he says 25 sitting on 25 mil.